It is great to be able to say thank you to those two and good luck, because we all know that they're going to do great things because of how great they have been here and how they've touched us. We know you're going to touch lives, so that's exciting. At least I get to say that. So, as we move forward, as we're moving along, and we're preparing for this wonderful season, and we have examples of what gifts really are. And then we start to think, not that I want to put you in panic, but something like 16 days till Christmas. Not that I'm in panic or anything. But we start to go through our things, our to-do list we were talking about last week. You know, are we ready? We have it all ready. And so what does our to-do list look like? You know, we have all our gifts bought. You know, did we remember everybody on our list? And oh yeah, I forgot about the garbage bin. And my list could go on and on and on. And I have everything wrapped. And do I have my house cleaned up? Do I have things? Do I have things hidden? You know, are we ready? This is a season of getting ready. And when I was a kid, I remember getting ready for me as a kid was, how can I make these days go faster so Christmas can be here? Oh, the problems of being a kid. We wanted to hurry up, especially one of my brothers and I. Our plan was to fill our day up, being as busy as we possibly could, so we could, because that made the days go faster. And if you really wore yourself out, what we discovered was the nights were faster too. Like you go to sleep and boom, it's the next morning already. And so we spent our Christmas break trying to make our days go fast. I'm sure that my mom was excited about that, because when we ran out of ideas or games to play, then we just decided we would run back and forth in the house. We would just keep running. Run. Just stay busy. Just stay busy. Not much has changed. We fill our days with staying busy. We have that whole list of things that we're trying to get done. And we want to make things go right, go fast, so we can get to the big day. And we fill our lives with busyness instead of looking for the gifts and keeping our eyes open and our hearts open, looking for the gifts. We're too busy trying to make things perfect. You see in Luke chapter 3, verses 4 through 6. As it is written in the book of the words of the prophet Isaiah, the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Every valley shall be filled, every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. You know, when you really get to thinking about that, it's a lot easier for us to think of doing all these things to make things right, being busy, instead of making things right in our hearts. Now, we cannot make ourselves righteous. We can't straighten out our own lives by ourselves and then say, okay, now I'm right. But straightening the paths, sometimes it's much easier for us to want to go out and work on something outside of ourselves than working inside of ourselves. We can't do it by ourselves. But when we line ourselves up with God, God says, I've already got it for you. All you have to do is come this way. And then things are made right when we follow God. So in our business, let's not forget to work on the inside and go to God. And those paths become straight, lined up with God and those gifts that He gives us. We share with everyone. That's the meaning of our Christmas. Will you pray with me? God, we sometimes go down a different path. We sometimes try to make things look good. It's easier for us to work on the outside when you want us to work on our inside. And you've made it easy for us by sending your Son, Jesus. All we have to do is follow Him. In His name we pray. Amen.
My words for you today come out of Luke as well, but I'm a little bit before the part that Jackie shared with you, which is a good setup for me. Mine come out of the first chapter of Luke's Gospel. And it's best if I tell you the story up to this point so that this makes sense. Zechariah was a priest. His wife, Martha, they've lived together for years and years, and she has no children. And unable to conceive. And it's always been Zechariah's prayer to God that He would allow him to be a father. One day, Zechariah is in his group of priests that he works together with were assigned to the temple in Jerusalem, and he had been the one who had been given the responsibility to go in to the altar of incense and to light incense and pray to God. And while he's there, all alone before this altar, the angel Gabriel shows up beside him with the classic line, "Don't be afraid." And he tells him, God has heard your prayer, and you will be blessed to be a father. Your wife, Martha, who's been barren, will have a child, and you're going to name him John. And Zechariah, for a moment, said, "Oh, how can this be? Oh, just our time has passed by." And Gabriel, I can just sort of imagine Gabriel looking at him and says, like, "Don't you remember the stories that from the scrolls for which you speak? The stories of Abraham and Sarah who were without children. And Hannah from Samuel's book of Samuel without a child. And yet God hears your prayers and blesses them. It's the same with you. And just because you chose to doubt what I have to say," he said, "I'm Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and so His authority is mine, and for that, you're going to take 9 months off. You will not be able to speak or hear." Silence. He leaves the area of the temple, and the people have been waiting for him to come out. And when he comes out, he can't speak, and they know that something has happened. He's seen a vision or something has happened. They just don't know what. He serves the rest of his time with his fellow priests at the temple. He goes home. And guess what? I said, well, Elizabeth ends up being pregnant. No, it's Martha ends up being pregnant. Is it Elizabeth? I got to hit the right one. Maybe he had two. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Ends up being Fred. Well, that's close. And for 9 months, nothing. But then the child was born. And in practice of the Hebrew tradition, 8 days after his birth, he's taken to the temple to be presented, and the priest on duty says, "What's the child's name?" And they assume, and of course you got family and friends along, and you assume it will be something along the line of Zachariah, because it's his dad's name. I mean, often the dad's name was added to B-A-R in front of it. That's where we get things like Barabbas and Bartholomew and all these. That means son of. And she goes, "Oh, the name is John." They go, "Well, you have it in your family name, John. You just can't pick a name out of the spot like that. What's up with that?" And so they gestured to Zechariah, "What's the name supposed to be for your son?" And he asked for something to write on. His name is John. Okay. And in that moment, suddenly he can speak. And it's not so much just words that flow from his mouth. We're told that the Holy Spirit comes upon him, and this becomes Zechariah's song. And words of praise being shouted out to God. That's the words that I share with you today. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come and has redeemed his people. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he said through his holy prophets of long ago. Salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies and to enable us to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. And you, my child, will be called a prophet of the Most High, for you will go on before the Lord to prepare the way for him, to give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins, because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, and to guide our feet into the path of peace. This is the word of the Lord, as explained that day by Zechariah. Words for us for this season of Advent. And I got to tell you, I wasn't all that familiar with these words. And then Wednesday night, as we're sitting there in Bible study, this is what it just amazes me when people gather together with the Word of God and you hear it read by someone out loud. It's not me reading it, it was somebody else reading it. I'm listening to these words and I'm just marveling at where have I been? Where did I miss this? Particularly this last line. By the tender mercy of our God, the dawn from on high will break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. Wow. What words. And I got to looking at this in various translations, just to see if there's any big differences. Being the Bible nerd, I guess, that I'm developing into. But that line, the dawn from on high, this is the NRSV translation. The dawn from on high. The NIV says the rising sun from heaven, which is the one I read to you out of this Bible. the New American Standard says, the sunrise from on high, and it is a capital S. And then the King James says, the day spring from on high, and it is a capital D. And I think this is one of those places where there's names that we use for Jesus. That sunrise, the rising sun, the day spring, those are phrases often associated with Jesus and the light of the world breaking forth. And did you happen to notice in the second verse that we sang today from O Come, Emmanuel, these words? O come thou day spring. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night and death's dark shadows. The one who was to come to break the darkness and to defeat death. Those same very words are in the Song of Zechariah. Why? And these songs occur in the Bible. Several of them were in the Old Testament. Hannah had a song when she became pregnant. Miriam, Moses' sister, had the song of Miriam praising God. And on and on. And then there's been this long, quiet period here. And then Luke uses that same convention, if you will, as he writes his gospel to try and pull this all together and explain this story of Jesus. And, well, have you ever been to seen a Broadway musical? And there's some spoken lines, but then when they really want to tell the story, it breaks into song. And then the song is where it gets into depth of what's going on, right? Well, Luke uses this convention on and on. To this point, this is the third song in Luke, and we're only in chapter 1. The first one is Elizabeth when she first sees Mary. She breaks into song, if you will. And then Mary answers with another song, the song of Mary. And then we get to Zechariah. We got another song. We get into chapter 2, kind of a well-known one in Luke's gospel. That's where the birth story of Jesus that everybody knows. That's where it's at. And it's the only place in the Bible where it's at. And we have angels filling the sky, breaking into song. Because Luke wants us to join in that chorus of praise, of hope, to be caught up in it, to come to understand what it is, to find that place within you, and to worship you fully. And I think that's what was going on in Zechariah's life. Here's a guy who's been a priest, a faithful priest his whole life, and here he was in the temple, in one of the holiest places in the temple, burning incense. And in Jewish tradition, where he was right then was in the center of the universe, the presence of God. Now, you would think that would be a high theological moment, right? But really, it's an even higher one. With the birth of John, he's holding his son, singing these words of praise to God as he looks at this child of hope, of promises been given first to he and Elizabeth, but then to the world. This one who would prepare the way for the one to come. And he sees in the child all of God's promises coming true. Perhaps in that 9-month gestation of silence that he had, perhaps he had time to go back through the scrolls of the Hebrew Scriptures. And suddenly all these promises of the covenants and the voices of various prophets of Isaiah and Malachi of this one who would come to prepare the way. The one that would come to level the high places, fill the low places, to make the way straight for God. This one is the one who invites people to knock down the barriers, the mountains of sin, of guilt, of shame that separate us from God, to let it go, so that the one to come could fill the valleys of the shadow of death, so that the playing field is level between us and God. That is who this child, Zechariah, holds. This one who is to come, power, Elijah, the prophet of old, to call the people back to the coming of the King, the true King. And it's in moments like this here at the beginning of Luke's gospel and the speaking of who this John the Baptist is, and this breaking into this light. Often, I've heard scholars say that John the Baptist is the hinge on which swings the gate between the Old Testament and the New. He is this link that welcomes us into the New Testament. And I got to thinking about the breaking in of this light. And, you know, in those days, I'm pretty sure glass didn't exist yet. Openings in walls to allow light into your home was truly that, an opening, and then it would often be shuttered so that, you know, you could keep out the cold and personal privacy, what have you at night. And so imagine John then as being the hinges on the shutter that open this up and allow the light to shine into the darkness. Not his light, but the light that was to come, the light of Christ. This bright morning star, this day spring, this dawn, this sun. The one who would come to light for us the way of peace. And that light, my friends, is not a massive floodlight blazing a trail for us, but it is a light that shows us where our next step is on the way of peace. And this peace that we're talking about here, that we light a candle for, is not peace as in the end of war, but is peace as in shalom, the Hebrew, which means a completeness, a fullness, a wholeness in the presence of God, with God. That's what we're being invited into. That's where we're being invited to welcome in the season of Advent. The inbreaking of the peace, the shalom of God into our lives. And then realizing that the call upon our lives is to carry that very peace into the brokenness of our world. And in doing so, making a difference for the kingdom of God. Welcome to Advent. The Advent of our life. Today and every. Hallelujah and amen. I've got this song that we're going to sing together. It's sung to the tune of Away in a Manger, and I actually just pulled the switch, so if you're wanting to look at it, usually I told Lori to change it to 262, that Away in a Manger, the more familiar Away in a Manger, to sing the song. I was looking at it last night, it sits that way. This is written by Carolyn Winfrey Gillette. She's a Presbyterian lady that did this for years. She took familiar hymn tunes and rewrote words to them, just as particular lectionary readings. This one is the one I like it. Let's see if we can get through this. Sing this to the tune of Wayne Major. Oh, please stand. When all sacrifice